Yo, dudes and dudettes, your friendly neighborhood JaxBlade is back with another video for y'all today. In today's video, I am joined with the great anime trainer, the OG of anime training. You've been seeing all these anime workouts. He's the OG, the GOAT of it. How are you doing today, Steven?
I'm doing all right, Jordan. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty damn great. So, like, I'm having a great time with this conversation because I wanted to invite you on this, and I also tried to invite someone else, but like they were busy at the moment, but that'll be a surprise for later. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But like, what we're going to be doing today is actually a question I got in my community tab, because in my community tab, I actually asked a bunch of people, all right, what type of physique do you think looks the best personally? So it was like, okay, what do you personally think is aesthetically the best? And it was like, big and brolic, and then it was like the first option was big and brolic, like, you know, super massive swole beast. Second option was like a natural bodybuilder, but like a fitness model, stuff like that. And then the other one was like also like it's just like proportions, like you're big but you're not too big, but you're definitely not small. And then the one that followed that was like lean but not necessarily too big, like you're athletic but you're not necessarily super yoked in a sense. And then also there was this one at the bottom where it was like, all right, what type of body do you like? They were just like, the last option was, I just want to be fit, I just want to be healthy, I just care about flat stomach and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay. And surprisingly, a large number of people, as shown in this little thing on the screen right now, were like, I'm just interested in like the lean body type instead of like being massive. And I was just surprised. I was like, I thought people would want natural body, but like, okay, damn, like I guess taste of change, but no hate here. But we got this great question on that exact post, and I was like, okay, I thought this would be a phenomenal video topic. And it comes from the Blind Traveler, and it says, just a fun video idea suggestion I know no one asked for. I think it would be very cool to see a JaxBlade video giving examples of anime physiques in real life, and if they may be natural or not. For example, I think Conor McGregor has what you might call a Hisoka physique. I'd be curious to see other examples. And I just was like, this is a genius idea, and I've done this idea so many times, like by myself in certain videos where I've never fully gone in depth with it, and I was like, who else to bring in but the OG, the anime trainer, so we could talk about this stuff, because we've been doing it, like, you've been doing this since like 2006 and 7. So I was like, I definitely need Sensei for this video, because this video is just like, there's so many times where we like talk about anime physiques in real life, and then it's just like, all right, what would be practical, and then what would just be like, that's just absolutely insane. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to go through a bunch, because I asked y'all on my community tab to submit some anime characters, and y'all submitted a lot. Like, there was just so many characters where I was just like, okay, we're not gonna do 300. As much as we love to talk about this stuff, we're not gonna do 300 in one video. We'll probably come back later if we need to. Yeah, that is a lot. So we're gonna just go through and pick, like, you know, about 10 to 15 characters, you know, fun thing, and talk about like what type of physique they have, how to attain it in real life, and also we're gonna be talking about the characters and like if the way they train would actually get you a physique like that in real life. Because let's be real here, a lot of the time, most of the characters we see are kind of, you know, you know, like some of them are just like pretty much like it's blatant. But then there are some where it's like, for example, when I was talking about Goku, we both talked about Goku's training before. Goku's training, while he does a lot of weighted calisthenics and weight training movements, a lot of his training is pretty much like endurance-based stuff. Like I'm running, I'm swimming, I'm fighting, I'm doing a lot of calisthenics, stuff like that. But the way Goku is designed, he's built more like a fitness model. So hypothetically, if you were to do all the stuff Goku does, like training-wise somehow, and like your body didn't look like Goku's, it would make sense, because like the way Goku has built his body, it looks like a fitness model who takes care of himself and who's like, oh yeah, I'm actually sculpting this muscle to perfection. So there are certain things like that we'll bring up. Like there are various characters like that we'll touch on where it's like, that doesn't make sense for that character to look that way. Or if they do look that way, we'll just talk about like what could possibly be going on. But this is gonna be a fun discussion video. And yeah, I've been talking so much, but yeah, anime trader, you got any ideas for how you want to talk on this as well?
Since we just started talking about Goku, we could probably start with Goku and maybe just kind of like some of the
Z fighters
in general, just kind of talk about them and see what would work with them.
Okay, sure thing. So yeah, let's put up some bodies of what they would look like, because like a lot of them honestly look like golden era bodybuilders in a sense. Like a lot of
It
like
also depends on what era of like Dragon Ball we're talking about.
yeah, because 90s like Buu Saga era, that is like completely different than like Super and early Dragon Ball era. Like
Yeah,
early
yeah,
Dragon
yeah.
Ball era, you could make it like argument that they look like, you know, UFC fighters who just like are really lean and goked out
Yeah.
because they're not like super ripped.
I mean,
but then like
even
later
Goku
on
at the
is like
very beginning of Z is still sort of like in that like kind of big athletic look. He looks like
yeah.
like a guy who plays football or something like that.
Exactly. It looks like an NFL player. Like he's got that big brolic body, but especially when he does Kaioken. And so it's just like, it's absolutely insane to see the, excuse me, the level of discrepancy that they get later on, where it's just like, okay, I look like I'm going through doors sideways and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just insane.
Like
but-
the first time you see Super Vegeta.
Yeah,
when he's all just like jacked when he's got a Super Saiyan grade 2, it's just huge. And
Exactly.
you're like,
It's
yes.
massive beast, boy. So like, for example, something like Super Vegeta would look like, I guess, this. But the thing is, we also have to keep in mind that Akira Toriyama straight up said, like in an interview, that, oh, I didn't design the muscles to be realistic. If you actually look at them, they're not. And it's just like, well, it makes sense that their like shoulders are the same size as their head, or their like forearms are like so insanely big. I mean, like look at Yamcha here; it's like absolutely insane. So it's funny to just think of that, like how the characters have changed over these years.
But Tien, the doctor
Tien.
said if your shoulders get any bigger,
That's why we don't see him anymore. It's just like, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. All right. Yeah, that is a good one. So like, oh, go ahead.
no. So Goku's training, like you were talking. I mean, you've done your Goku Tough Like the Tunes, where you
Very
went,
tiring.
You went through and all, but it's a lot. It was a lot of cardio stuff. A lot of like, there was some high intensity work to it. But there was also a degree of the weighted calisthenics and in Goku's respect, high rep calisthenics.
Yes.
And there's actually
Ton of volume.
There's actually plenty of dudes that get freaking swole on high rep calisthenics because they're able to
Exactly.
to bring the muscle to failure, pump the blood into the muscle, and they may not necessarily be like the strongest dudes in the world, but they can get pretty jacked doing high rep calisthenics. So I don't think that that's necessarily an unreasonable thing to look at Goku and say, oh, he wouldn't be big. I mean, like if you're doing
No, exactly.
if you could do 10,000 push-ups in 100 times gravity, you probably
Look
pretty
at
swole.
Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at Herschel Walker,
Mike
OG
Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
OG Mike Tyson, and Bo Jackson. Like, wow, why were all the top athletes just doing calisthenics? See the
So
pattern? It's
many
like,
thousands.
Yeah. It's so crazy how many, but like, something I would mention with that as well is like, for example, some people are just very much interested in the look of like Goku. I just want to go to a cosplay Goku shirtless and stuff like that. And it's like, it's reasonable to say like, oh, you could definitely get like super yoked from doing just calisthenics.
Sure.
But then like you also got to take into account like what would be a faster thing to get that type of body, So for example, like weight training, like progressively overloading the muscles at a faster pace with like higher weights, and then like going in there consistently getting the volume in, and then actually being able to isolate and sculpt certain muscles the way you want. Because like with calisthenics, I love calisthenics, but you can't isolate effectively with certain ones. And it's just like, you can't, like there are certain things where it's like, oh, I can do this, but it's like most of the time, most of the exercises are very compound based.
And there's certain things with very small muscles that you can't really hit effectively, because in order to do it, like the muscle's not strong enough to be able to hold your body weight. So you trying to do something with it, it's like, nah, I can't do that.
Exactly. So you need to learn to stabilize it and do all that stuff. And so, yeah, it's absolutely insane and crazy to just think of like that's how they build themselves up. And then like also like the thing with weight training too is like in a sense weight training, I mentioned this in a previous video, how like weight training can potentially be easier than doing calisthenics, because like you have to think of it like this, like, and everyone can do like a dumbbell bench press. If I give you 5 pounds, you lay on a bench, you press it up. That's technically a dumbbell bench press. It's not this, it's you gradually will build up strength for it. Not everyone can get on the floor and just do a push-up right away. Same thing with like pull-ups and lat pull-downs, and then the big one is like handstand push-ups and military press. Like, you
Sure,
just
sure,
need
sure.
very light dumbbells, and then you can gradually build up for it. Well, with calisthenics, it takes a bit more work, but
Certainly.
like, you know, the work speaks for itself. So stuff like that. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff involved in calisthenic work that would be balance and core related stuff that isn't necessarily a part of the, if you were trying to do it with machines or with you know, more free weight body weights. I mean, excuse me, bodybuilding
exactly.
training, and that's not necessarily to
Mhm.
say like one is superior to another in one way. I'm just saying like they're
Do both, people.
yeah, I mean, they're good to do both. Like I might like go in there and bust out a really solid shoulder workout and then end with, you know, sets of
Pike
handstand walking.
push-ups.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, so
handstand, yeah.
yeah, just different stuff to be able to hit a little bit differently. But in terms of like Z Fighter stuff, like if you want to look like those guys, like especially like they do in like the late Buu Saga era, you're gonna need to get into some bodybuilding style training or, you know, something along there. You're gonna have to pick some heavy weights up, compound movements, and then use the little movements to sculpt you know, things like the outer delt, and then like making sure the back looks a certain way.
And get the lines, get
Yeah.
the striations, get the feathers. You got to be like feather. You got to get the feathers from the muscles.
Because
striations.
you can knock
Also,
you can knock out like
Yeah, yeah, go
5,000 push-ups, and if you don't ever like, you know, get into like a decline push-up where your feet are up in the air and you're not hitting that upper chest, you're gonna have, oh, lower pec's gonna be massive. That upper pec ain't gonna got nothing.
exactly. Oh my god. And also, I just want to put this out there as well, because like we do have a lot of young viewers watching as well. So sometimes we'll see people who are like, take this for a grain of salt. Like there are always people like you see in like their magazine photo shoots or bodybuilders on stage and all that stuff. They've prepped, and this is them, like they're not like that all the time. For example, I was talking to an individual, and they had no idea that muscles were like soft. Like muscles are firm. They're firm, yes, but they didn't know. They thought that people just walked around flexing hardcore all the time. And so like every part of their body was just naturally just like yoked. It was just like yoked 24/7. It's like, do you know how uncomfortable that would be if like your muscles were just like hard just all the time? So yeah, I want to keep that in mind. Also, the fact that they could be dehydrated before the like photo shoot to make themselves look better. They also, you know, very lean in that part. Like a lot, if you talk to a bodybuilder who gets on stage when they look their best, they're actually at their weakest, and they do not enjoy being that. Yeah,
Like
they feel absolutely awful.
Being exotic lean like that, not like not normal walking around everyday lean, but like where you can only stay that way for a couple of days, like you feel like trash.
Exactly. So, and that's the thing, like a lot of anime characters, they look that lean 24/7 because they're drawn that way. Like
Exactly.
we always say, like we're just taking this like as seriously. We're just saying like they're drawn that way. So, excuse me, they're like designed to be like the perfect shape every single day. But if you try to maintain that all the time, then it's going to be very detrimental, which is, I think, perfect, because we not perfect that, but like we're going to move into my next topic, which is Baki and Kengan Ashura characters, because this is something I did a whole video on this, right, where I talked about like, would Baki and Kengan physiques be the best type of physiques to have for like, you know, fighting long endurance stuff like that. And one of the things that came up was like, you can be that sort of size, but most of these characters are designed to be like bodybuilders, and they're fighting like they're, you know, pro level athletes. And a lot of people would actually like put down these characters or put down these actual fighters like, actually this person has a Baki physique and they're like this. And I like literally in the video had the person in the video and I referenced them, and I'm like, no, okay, the person you reference, they're in great shape, they are giant and stuff like that. But if you put them next to an Olympic bodybuilder, and then if I put this image of a Baki character up, who does he look closer to? And it's like he looks closer to the bodybuilder who's like ripped on stage. And it's just like, there's nothing against that, but it's just like that genjutsu of leanness illusion. Like, you know, like people just see like wide shoulders, big chest, ripped abs, and they think like, oh, you're on the same level as like a competitive bodybuilder. And while they're phenomenal athlete, it doesn't necessarily equate to the same thing. But go ahead, Sensei.
If you see a guy on the street or like in you know, fiction or something like that, and he's super lean, and you're like abs, you can see all the striations, you know, all that stuff, he looks great, and you're like, oh, he's so big. He may not actually be that big. He may just be lean.
Right.
You
Exactly.
So like you put him next to somebody who's actually big, and you can definitely see it. So it's like there's like you said, there's this illusion of if you're lean, then that means, oh, well, you must automatically be big. And I think in drawing stuff like that, that kind of comes out too, because you look at Ippo, and like he's drawn like somebody that weighs a lot more than 126 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, you compare Ippo, who's a featherweight, to someone like Joe Ibuki, and it's like, they're very close in weight to each other, and it's like, there's no way that Ippo was like, oh, because like, I know what they're trying to go with. They're trying to go with like a more exaggerated, because there are boxers like, you know, Timothy, like, what is that dude? Timothy Bradley. Bradley ripped as hell. Manny Pacquiao ripped as hell. Floyd Mayweather ripped as hell. But like, they have some muscle on their frame,
absolutely.
but they're not necessarily yoked. Like freaking Ippo was just, he is a tank, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it also depends on when, like, when they draw him, because like if you look at him at certain points in the series, you can see he's a little smaller, but then like when he's in the ring, it's like, why am I so much bigger?
Exactly. It's just like, well, we got to get some Fist of the North Star action going on here. And it's just, it's insane. But yeah, that is like a little pro tip for all y'all out there. Like, this is why I always say, like, if you really want to just have like a really cool aesthetic for yourself, or just aesthetics is what you're into, if you get super lean first and you put 5 to 10 pounds of muscle onto that lean frame, you're going to look way bigger. You're going to look insanely bigger. You're just, people are going to be like, dude, how freaking jacked did you get? And it's just like that little optical illusion, that genjutsu that goes on that people deal with. So keep that in mind.
You see two guys that, like, one dude has like, you know, 18-inch arms or something like that, and he flexes, but his body fat is not as low as this other dude that has like 16-inch arms. The dude with 16-inch arms might look bigger.
Right. Just from that definition.
Yeah, just because of the definition.
Exactly.
Especially
and it's
if
just,
you can see the peak of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, you know, some people were saying like, oh, Kengan fighters are more realistic in a sense, and it's just like, some are, some not necessarily, because again, like Oma, you see him, he literally fell asleep and gained 20 pounds, and it's like, you compare Oma at the start of the series to how he is now,
looks really different.
It's not, it's just like, it's such a colossal difference. And another thing that we bring up is like, that is important for performance because it gives you energy and certain things. And like the way you compare his fat-free mass index, like I know he's drawn with it, but again, like if you were that lean and fighting for like 10 rounds back to back, and you were also that size, that would just gas you so extra normally faster. Like it would just not be.
Not to mention the fact,
insane.
you know, when he uses the advance. And so in some of the stuff, even if you look at the characters from Baki or Kengan, but Baki specifically has this issue, and more so in the manga than in the anime. But the calf size, the way the calves are drawn in Baki are insane. Dudes have calves as big as their freaking quads, and they're like this freaking long. You know, it's like they're massive. There, in some of those things, you have to realize are stylistic things that don't translate to reality.
Exactly. Like, again, there's a lot of stuff that we always talk about here where this is just for fun, that we're not taking this overly serious, because some people go, oh, that's cringe, but it's just like, no, we're fun. We completely are very self-aware. We're not looking at this like, oh, well, this is not scientifically accurate. It's just like, no, it's just a fun thing for us to look and compare. But yeah, like Baki, Kengan characters, I'd say, like, who'd you say is the most realistic looking person in Kengan then?
It really depends on what you mean by that, because for instance, as far as like fighters, I think Cosmo is a really
Cosmo's
good
great. I was about to
look
say
for
him.
Because he's super lean, and he's got that kind of fighter's build. But I mean, it also depends on like if we're talking, because he's a small dude.
Yeah, he is smaller. He's like,
I'm trying to think of like somebody that would be a heavyweight that looks kind of reasonable.
Yeah, because like once you get to their heavyweights,
like
they're
Wakatsuki's
just
freaking huge.
Well, he actually he has that whole disease,
Superman disease,
quote unquote disease. Yeah.
Give me
So
that.
that makes sense. Yeah, give me that. Oh, my only problem is if I get muscle legs, but I could do yoga and it works out for itself. So it's just silly stuff like that.
I had this disease where I'm enormously jacked,
and I'm perfect in every way. And it's just like, oh god. Oh damn, that's hilarious. Okay. So right now, I think, well, I guess start of series Oma is very reasonable.
Yeah,
because he was just, he was just a big brolic dude before they were like, yeah, you know what, muscle cell, we're gonna get Donbrew on this bitch if I could just like make it like this way.
But you know, I'm same universe, so it works out.
Yeah, perfect.
You know, Gao Ling's not that bad.
Gao, yeah. Big
Gao,
brolic dude.
and then what's his name? Sao Pang.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Sao Pang
he's
also
ripped.
is ripped, but he's not like massively huge. I feel like he looks like a Thai boxer, or rather,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I can't remember the style that he uses.
I think it is Muay Thai, isn't it?
No,
Because he like
no,
had
he uses
because he had the one where he had
Myanmar.
the skull.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
uses this thing from Myanmar. It's crap. Lithway.
Lithway, because he had the whole thing where he got his skull like
Yeah,
hardened.
super.
And all
Oh
that.
god, don't hit him with a hammer.
Yeah.
I've
yeah,
actually
hit him with
just
a
been
hammer.
rewatching through the series just because I wanted to.
Watch the CGI one.
Yeah, I just wanted to watch through it again because I'm like, I want more, and I want him to finish it. Since we're already on the Kengan stuff, let's talk about Julius Reinhold.
Okay, Julius. Yes, Julius. Massive steroid junkie mother effer.
Oh
Insane.
yeah, big dude.
Oh god.
Who, by the
That
way,
dude-
is based on Mariusz Pudzianowski, who is multiple-time winner of World's Strongest Man and an absolute monster. Also fights MMA, and will be at some point here in the future fighting Half Thor in a boxing match.
Yes. But the thing again is that fat-free mass index nowhere near as lean as Julian.
No.
Julian is just like 1% body fat or some
Yeah,
stupid
Julius.
shit. Or it's
Julius
just,
is like just pure muscle.
Is absolute insane. He's just a tank, and it's just like, I don't need martial arts. I'm just so yoked. I can just F up someone like this. And I was just like, bruh. Oh god. Like, it's insane like how jacked Julius is. But yeah, like that is a physique that first off, I don't even think you would want. There are certain people who do want that type of thing, but again, like it's just a physique where it is so out there that, like, you know, the veins are pulsating, his body is just like so movable. The way
It's just not
the way he moves, it's just yeah.
It's not.
exactly.
It's not realistic. And when I say it's not realistic, you can look at the biggest men on the planet. And when I say the biggest men on the planet, I don't necessarily mean like the tallest. I mean like the most muscular men on the planet, the men that walk on the Olympia stage, and those guys are huge, but they still don't look like Julius.
Right, like Ronnie Coleman and stuff like that still don't look like Julius, even though he's very massive. Ronnie Coleman is a very massive, insane, was a very massive man. Like, hope he's recovering well. But yeah, like that is one of those characters where it's just like, yeah, that is just so highly unlikely. So highly unlikely. Okay. Oh, let's go to one that we both know very well because we're hipsters with it. One Punch Man Saitama.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So if you want a body that looks like him, just look at my body right there. Boom, boom. See the pics? There. It looks exactly the same. No, it's funny. But like, let's talk about Saitama's physique in the manga compared to the anime, because in the manga it's a bit thinner.
Yeah,
I've noticed that. Like his body was a bit thinner, so it made sense for the way his body, from the type of training he does, the 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10 kilometers of running, and there have been thousands of people who've like done the actual workout and seen progress from it, and then like me and Sensei just look at him like, we did this shit first. But yeah, like I think a body type that looks like him, you know, just calisthenics, right? Just like do calisthenics, do your cardio. It's like nothing.
I mean, there's plenty
overly
of dudes,
dramatic.
There's plenty of dudes that look like that like dudes that stay consistent with their PT in the military. Those guys.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like,
It's literally it.
the guys that stay consistent with their PT from the military, they basically have that body type. Or he also kind of has a swimmer's look to him a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, because like, you know, if you look at the anime like Free, where they're like swimming, they got like nice defined back muscles and stuff like that. I feel like we both talked about this on our videos, but it's like I feel like Saitama really needs to work on his rear delts just to keep his shoulders safe from doing all those push-ups. Because if you do push-ups like consistently like that, you're gonna make the front of your shoulder too strong, and then it's going to cause some like impingements and injuries and stuff like that. So Saitama needs to get some row action in.
So yeah, that's a good point. So if you're looking for that kind of physique, if you're going for that Saitama physique, you can get there doing what he did. You can absolutely do it, but you're gonna have to make some adjustments because he's missing some stuff. So he needs to do some pulling motions, some vertical pushing and pulling also, because that's kind of missing entirely.
Exactly.
And you know, he also needs to do some hinging movements, so because he does the squat, but he doesn't have any hinge pattern, so his posterior chain's not really getting a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
Exactly, especially with all those sit-ups and stuff like that.
yeah,
too,
but
if you-
other than
like I
that,
say.
it's basically you can do that and look like him over time. You can 100% do it.
Exactly. It is literally one of the, I wouldn't say easiest looks, but like one of the most consistent looks you can do for yourself that a lot of people have now seen.
Yeah, I think I'd say it's
go for it.
probably the most achievable.
The most achievable, yes. And it's funny how like that is the most popular from that poll I posted, where it's just like, huh, okay, yeah, shit. So yeah, there you go. Like I guess,
It's definitely a different era. It's a different because like that lean look is definitely. I'm from the like watching the 90s 90s bodybuilder dudes. Like when I see an action hero that doesn't look like Arnold, I'm like, that guy's tiny.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's one of those things because like I've always been leaned. I've always said this on my channel. Like I'm not the biggest dude around, and don't try to pretend to be. But I am very strong in certain aspects. That's not ego talking. That's just me being aware of my accomplishments. But it's like one of those situations where like I always like see something or I watch a show and I'm just like, man, I wish he was kind of just yoked and stuff like that. And I see like why that wouldn't work necessarily for me, depending on like my certain goals for myself. Because right now I'm just focused on being healthier and stronger, and then like the byproduct, my body looks good.
Whatever it looks like in that process is cool.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just like it helps me. I'm able to be very mobile and fluid and all that stuff. But like yeah, when I see like an action hero, I'm just like, I want them like Arnold or Sylvester Stallone or like The Rock or something like that. So yeah, it's crazy how that works.
And I'm not sure if that's just because of the era that we grew up in. It's like we're the equivalent of boomers being like, you know, that's not how they did it back in my day, you know. But like, that may be just the era that we grew up in, and you know, I'm willing to admit that.
No, exactly. That is the era we grew up in, and it was like, oh god, that whole little aspect. But it's fun to see regardless. It's super fun to see regardless. But yeah, how about we move on to the next one? So how about one that's close to Saitama, but not necessarily Deku?
Okay.
Deku. Yeah, Deku and Bakugo, I guess, because they're very close to each other.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess these are just lean, but
kind of in shape.
Yeah, lean in shape. More like, I guess, fighter builds, would you say?
Yeah, definitely like more like a fighter build.
Yeah, because they got the strong arms and the ripped chest, but they're not like, you know, yoked. They're not like massively yoked in any regard. They're just like very built.
So you can definitely see that there's muscle on them. But at the same time, I think the reasonable thing is like they're a very, very in shape teenager.
Exactly.
And so like teenagers are going to have not mature muscle, so it's going to look a lot different. It's going to look a lot softer. And that's something that if you are younger and you are trying to compare yourself to teenagers in anime, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't watch Baki and be like, oh, why do I look like that?
Yeah,
you know, just
don't watch Baki on the mountain, or don't watch you know, Jotaro and being like, why don't I look like him at 16? It's like, you're not going to. Just like there's one of the guys that I train, I think he's 19, and you know, he's still kind of got that, you know, softer muscle look to him from his teens. He's kind of got big pecs, kind of got, you know, big arms, quads are kind of big, but it's not, you can look at it and say that's baby. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can just tell, because there's a different look that comes with mature muscle.
Exactly. And then like also if you're like in your like 20s or in your 30s or something like that, and you like have bodies similar to that, again, no shame, it's like Saitama. Again, like Saitama's got a body that's hard, swimmer looking, lean, effective, all that jazz. And it depends on what your goals are. For example, like they look very natural, like for, you know, a fighter type build, like we mentioned, and like teenage muscle, like they said. And they will gradually, you know, probably by the time they get older, they'll look like Endeavor and freaking All Might and stuff like that, especially with the superpowers and the way that world works. But it's not something to be like, oh, okay, well, I want to do it. Because I know some people, like I have friends who are in like their late 30s or early 40s who are like, I wouldn't mind looking like, you know, how Deku looked right there's a kid. And I'm guessing like, oh, they just want like the lean look. And again, absolutely no shame. I would say like some like calisthenics or a boxing class or MMA class, something like that. Like, because with a good diet, because like there is always those type of fighters where they're not necessarily ripped. Like there are a ton of great fighters out
Roy
there.
Nelson.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like they're insanely skilled, but they're not necessarily super ripped. So like yeah, just follow the diet, and like if you do that program with a solid diet, then yeah, you definitely get results from that. So, but
Yeah.
how about you pick another? Oh, go ahead. You have anything else to say?
Yeah, but I forgot, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, all right. Go ahead.
Let's see.
Choose another one for us.
Let's take a look here. Okay, so here's one that's been changing a lot.
Okay.
Luffy.
Luffy.
So Luffy
yeah!
started out one way, and then he had, he grew, and then he grew again, and like so he looks totally different than when he started out in the beginning of the series.
Exactly. Oh, like originally he was just like he had no arm muscle whatsoever, but could like lick you. But his abs were just insanely ripped. Like he was like someone who just like I focus on doing a ton of like core and sit up work and like a bunch of like
yoga.
ab exercises. Yeah, exactly. Like he's not focused on arms at all. Besides the way he punches, which is funny though. There are times where like in early One Piece, he would like flex his arm to punch, and it's just like, oh, you can see he's got some gains on him when he flexes. So it was one of those type of deals, which I always love. But like nowadays, Luffy's got a nice build to him.
Yeah.
You see him like, yeah,
Dude
has been training.
Obviously, like the stuff that you see him, it's not real.
Exactly.
But like
he's not lifting an anchor and throwing.
But I appreciate that over time they have taken that he's grown and added to his physique, because that's something you don't see in like Naruto.
Exactly.
You
Naruto,
don't see
yeah,
that at
we have
all.
Naruto on here too, so you can just look and compare. Like Naruto is just an average looking guy, like not average, like he has a flat stomach and some like a decent pecs.
Yeah.
But him and Sasuke are
Muscles
just like,
are not a thing
average
in the
dude.
Naruto universe.
Wait,
Like,
have we ever seen Rock Lee shirtless?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think I asked this before.
Oh no,
but
you
I don't
have.
know if we've
You
ever-
have when he was getting healed by Tsunade.
Okay. So well, when he was getting healed by Tsunade, like was he like ripped at all?
Nope.
Oh, fuck. At least Guy was ripped in that Speedo episode. That's what I'll say. Guy was ripped in that.
But
Speedo
he's still
episode,
like,
so.
as strong as he is, he should be bigger than that. It's like it's not like he's augmenting his power with chakra or anything. He's just a freaking monster.
Right, exactly. It's just like, like for me, one of the biggest disrespectful things I've ever seen was like I was playing Naruto Ninja Storm, and there's this scene where like Guy is like, he does the 8 gates move, and then he wins the match, and then like you see him shirtless, and he just looks like this average dude, and I'm just like, no, Guy needs at least like some ripped abs, ripped pecs, or something like that. There's no way the way he trains daily. There's no way.
Can I at least get like after he's done at that moment? Can I get like a full power Roshi version of
yes
of Guy?
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
yeah, Roshi's tiny, but like when he's serious, it's like okay, all right, there's Roshi.
Right, exactly. That is just how it goes with him. But another one, oh god, yeah, like Zoro. Let's talk about Zoro, because Zoro started off like lean and muscular, and like throughout the years he's gradually gotten bigger, and it makes sense because he always is weight training, and so like his body is just someone who is like, again, like I'd say a lean like fighter type deal, would you say? Because he's not necessarily ripped. I mean, he is ripped. No, he is ripped.
No, he's
like,
ripped.
Most of the time,
He's
but
just
he's
not jacked.
Massive. Yeah.
If you look at the way that he trains, like that's one of those situations where the way that he trains would actually produce a better physique than what you see.
Exactly. He's doing like high reps with this stuff, and he's like
With
doing
massive
like very
amounts of
heavy
weight.
Yeah, massive amounts of weight. It's like the time under tension he is going through on a daily basis with that amount of weight, and just the way he is constantly repetitioning the muscle like that, it would just get you such a like. He should look like Goku. Like he should look like freaking Goku with the weights he's lifting.
And
the
man trains his whole body in all kinds of planes, because he's doing handstand push-ups, he's doing like squats, like freaking sots presses. He's doing
frog hops with the weight on his back. And stuff like
he's
that.
doing like one-arm barbell curls. He's doing the barbells like swings, which
overhead things.
Crazy stuff.
Insane.
Which, by the way, if you have you ever wanted to do something like that, there's a couple of different things that you can do. please be careful. I actually have a video on it if you check it out on my channel. There's
Same.
two parts of that. There's you can use a sledgehammer and do it very, very, very slowly, or you can actually use a barbell. Pick a smaller one if you have it available. You could do barbell sword swings, but that one's very, very difficult, and it is a lot of
Don't throw
core.
your shoulders out.
Do not.
That is the key thing. Like that is a good way to get injured. Like especially that. Like I remember when I was a teenager, I did the frog hops thing he did. I threw out my back for a week. Don't do it. Don't do that like right away. Like if you ever want to attempt something, like always slowly build your way up. Very light bar, very, very light, and check your ego in at the door, unlike Vegeta. So anyways,
what I tell people all the time is start easier than you think you need to and progress very slowly, because you're going to get more consistent gains and results off that than you are trying to get there very quickly. You try to get there very quickly, you're going to hurt yourself, and you're not going to get there as fast as you would have if you'd just gone slow in the first place.
Exactly. So like the way Zoro looks in after the 2-year time skip and in Wano, like he's got very much like a bigger build now, which I would say like it's big but not necessarily big per se. Like he is very muscular. I'd say it looks something like this. What would you say? Like something like a very lean but like somewhat toned arms and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But it's not like,
okay,
oh, I'm flexing, look at my biceps. And
fitness model, like men's fitness, like men's physique.
See, I would say someone like Bond from Seven Deadly Sins is more like fitness model. You know Bond from Seven Deadly Sins?
Yeah. Okay, definitely that he's got that leanness there, but I don't know if you've seen any of the fitness guys recently. They've been getting progressively bigger every year.
Really?
Like, it's ridiculous. Like every time they enter, like if you've ever paid attention to bodybuilding and then like men's like classic
men's physique,
like there's an arms race constantly of bigger, and then eventually it's like, guys, the dudes that are classic physique are as big as the bodybuilders used to be. The guys that were in men's physique are as big as the classic guys used to be.
Right. Yeah, see, it's weird. Like, again, like, people, ironically, are getting bigger for certain things, and it's just, like, I'd say, like, okay, I can see what you're saying. Like, yeah, if you got, like, a image or anything like that, too, like, shoot me aside, because, like, I know what you're talking about with the men's physique, because there are some people in men's physique, I can see that. Okay, definitely do. You think Zoro's that big?
I mean, like, the guy on the left, like, you know, the way that, like...
Yeah.
You don't think he's that big?
I think that's more like Bond from Seven Deadly Sins.
You think
Bond from
I thought Bond would be leaner than that.
Well, okay, like here, I'll link Bond. Here's Bond from Seven Deadly Sins. Cause like Bond from Seven Deadly Sins has like one of those bodies that I'm like, that looks like a guy who's a fitness model or prepping. Like you see how big and ripped he is?
Okay,
like,
yeah, I see the lats. For whatever reason, the lats were kind of not in my head when I was thinking about Bond.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's how I'm thinking of it. So, I mean, like, okay, so for example, Zoro, I think of something like early Zoro and early Luffy. So, early Luffy, I sort of think of someone like Ryan Garcia. Like, you know, the boxer Ryan Garcia, because he's very ripped, but his arms aren't, like, massive, but he can lay you out. And then, like, Zoro... okay, I can see what you're saying a bit. But I would say arm-wise, like, because those guys got massive arms.
Yeah, his arms are definitely not that big.
Yeah, I'd put him at like.
Actually, let me look up. Look up men's fitness. You'll pull up like a general. It'll pull up stuff for the Men's Fitness magazine, but that general look in that is, I think, something that is more.
That guy's name, the soccer player.
Oh, I don't know. I don't follow soccer.
Oh, damn, that soccer player, Cristiano something. There's a soccer player called like, Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, cause Zoro, the way Zoro built, like, he sort of reminds me of this guy, but his like, he needs like that. He's looking up, like his traps aren't as defined there, but like that's what he, sort of like that.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so that's what I imagine for Zoro.
Something that if you guys are watching this and your primary concern is aesthetic, and you are looking at a character and say, I want to look like that character, that might be different than how you see them train. And you know, we've talked about that already, and you need to be aware of that, because I don't want you to train like that person or do things that are similar to them and not get the same results.
Exactly. That's was my awakening when I was training like Goku. As I talked earlier in this video, when I trained like Goku, I was like, as a kid, I thought like, oh, if I do all this stuff with this amount of volume and this amount of cardio and all this stuff, my body will eventually turn into like some fitness model looking physique. And that's just not how it works, depending on your genetics too, because there are some people like this is another thing I want to put out there, because I've been seeing it happen a lot more frequently. Absolutely no shade whatsoever to these people, because I'm happy that they're like posting results and they're getting results for themselves. But there are these people who are younger individuals who are naturally cut. And what I mean by that is like when they were at a certain age, their body just naturally developed abs on their own. And then they start to work out and they put muscle onto their frame, and they got newbie gains. And when you get newbie gains, you build muscle and burn fat at the same time. And so they're eating like a teenager, bulking up, and then they look super, super impressive, and they can look insanely impressive just from the low body fat percentage and the fact that they put on some muscle to their frame. And so what they'll do is they'll post a bunch of pictures, and some people don't realize like there's the stuff going on behind the scenes with that. And again, they worked hard for it, so absolutely taking zero things away from them. I'm proud of them for getting their stuff in. But some people will see like, oh, I wonder what they diet like. Oh, I wonder what they train like. And sometimes I'll see these people put out workout videos that they do, and people will follow along with them thinking they'll look like that person, and that's not necessarily the case. Like they just put out a workout that they know would you know, help you probably lose some fat or put on some gains, but it's not necessarily the thing they do from their thing. And again, no shade to these kids, like happy they're just working out in the first place, but that's just something to be aware of when you see people posting like, oh, I look like Zoro, I look like Asa, I look all this stuff. It's just very much stuff behind the background.
There's nothing wrong with sharing your work if you're that person either. If there's nothing wrong with sharing what you've done, because you know, that's cool to share a workout and stuff. But if you've done something, if you've done a thing for you and it has worked, and this is the first time you've ever done something like that, recognize that you are like rolling the dice statistically, might be in a very small category of people that is how that operates with. And so you trying to tell other people who are not you how to do certain things, especially if you don't know how to teach them how to do certain movements, that ain't gonna be a good. So it's great if you're showing stuff, but don't be like, oh, I can teach you how to do this too, because if you're not like, don't actually know what you're talking about, you can end up getting somebody hurt.
Exactly. Like this is one of those situations. Like me and Sensei have been like personal trainers for well over a decade now. Like trained thousands of different people in various like areas of life. Like some with like certain things that they can't do, some that they can do, and it's just certain things to look out for. Because I hear this all the time from like some people I like train, and I'm just like, oh well, this is what's going on with them. Or like hell, like with fitness models, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see, and then it's just like, oh, they look like that 24/7, when that's not necessarily the case all the time. So just remember that for yourself when you're like looking at these characters and you're like, oh, I want that for myself. Like you can have something very close or very like very like something attainable, but like what's gonna happen is like if you want to like maintain that super lean look all the time naturally, it's gonna be just more of a headache at times for certain individuals if you're just not active.
And you
like
can stay pretty lean, but you can't stay exotic.
Yeah, exactly.
Lean. You just can't.
Exactly.
You'll be you might die.
Naturally, at least. Yeah, exactly.
So like and on that note, since we're talking about stuff that may or may not be, achievable or sustainable for people, let's talk about like some people don't realize. I did a poll on this. How many people do you think professional bodybuilders like are? Do you think that they're on gear or not? And when I say gear, I mean steroids. But it's like and like a third of the people in the poll thought that the people on the Olympia stage, the professional bodybuilders, don't use steroids. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna break some of you guys' hearts right now. No, every person on that Olympia stage is using performance enhancing drugs. It's necessary for the sport. And I'm not here, it's like trying to like degrade those. That's part of the sport. I don't really care. Don't do drugs.
Exactly.
Don't do things that are illegal. Whatever. But like, do whatever you want to with your body. But like, in those, it is if you're going to be a pro bodybuilder on that stage, not in a completely natural division where they do testing, you will necessarily have to use performance enhancing drugs. So if you're looking at that stage, recognize that is part of that process. And so I don't want you guys to come away with looking like, oh, I want this kind of physique, and then work for it for 10 years and be like, well, why don't I look like that? That must be my fault. Right. You're kind of lacking one of the things that would be necessary to do that, because the human body can only hold so much muscle mass as it relates to your testosterone, because that's the thing that helps determine how much muscle mass you can hold at a certain time. And so, like, you know, there's a certain range in which is natural testosterone, and so you look at the guys that are on the natural bodybuilding stage, it's like, okay, that's about as big as you can get without having to use steroids. If you want to get bigger than that, you might have to use steroids. And at the same time, different people respond to gear differently. So some people are hyper responders, and they're gonna blow up. And then some people might use gear and not really respond well at all. So just because this is another thing, just because you use steroids doesn't mean you're gonna be the biggest or the baddest, because you may not respond to it well.
Exactly. Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of like people who are incredibly wealthy who use steroids just because like they want to have a sexier body by themselves. Like I watched this whole documentary where they were talking about like who uses the most steroids, and like you think like, oh, it's a lot of bodybuilders and stuff like that, but it's also surprisingly like a lot of rich people. A lot of rich people will like go to the doctors, get like, you know, microdoses and do all this stuff, and it's like, huh, like, yeah. And so like, you know, some you would never know, but also like what freaking Sensei was saying right there, like there's so many people out there who like see these bodies and think you just maintain it all the time. Like hell, like some people still think Arnold is natural when he like straight up admitted like several times that no, I wasn't. Like I did it. It was legal at the time. Same with the golden era 70s bodybuilders. Now, I think the problem becomes like what this video has turned into, but like it becomes one of those situations where people will see a body that is achievable naturally that was attained unnaturally, and so they automatically think that just because that body was attained unnaturally, it's not possible naturally, and that's not the case at all. Like there are certain bodies out there that were achieved where it's like, no, you very much could have that if you're very consistent, maintain it, but it's just like it takes a lot of time and work.
For instance,
but they had to do that for this.
A good example of this is when somebody gets a phone call that says, hey, you're going to be in a Marvel movie. When you get that phone call, you get a trainer. And I guarantee that the guys that are super out of shape that walk onto like the
Avengers and stuff like that.
Avengers like 3 or 4 months later and they're ripped as hell, there was some assistance. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't have got that naturally, because some of those guys are not huge, they're just in really good shape. It's just they had to get there real fast.
Exactly. That's the whole thing about Hollywood. Like you can go look up videos. Like there's this whole back street of Hollywood stuff that not a lot of people know about. Where it's like, no, certain actors like there was these people in a podcast talking about like, oh yeah, certain actors I can't talk about because I signed an NDA, but like they go onto the big screen and they do these interviews and they were talking about, oh, I worked out for this many months, did all this stuff. And the
just cleaned up my diet.
Responding like, yeah, but they came to me and did this, and it's just like, yeah.
My favorite thing is when people's like, oh, well, how did you get this big? And then like the dudes that are plainly on steroids are like, I just cleaned up my diet.
Yeah, just cleaned up my diet and ate. And I put on like 30 pounds of muscle. I was like, no, you did not.
You did not.
So,
you put 30 pounds of muscle on it. You put 30 pounds of muscle on it in 15 months. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. You must be taking dragon's blood. So yeah, shut up for something like that. It's insane. Okay. So yeah, I think let's do it 3 more. Let's go with 3 more of these characters. So let's see. Who do you want to go with?
Let's try to do somebody that is either not well known or that is not in a series that we've already done. Oh, okay. He's well known, but Guts.
Guts. Okay. Yes. All right. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Amora. You're like such a legend. So with Guts, the way he trains is just like constantly fighting, constantly lugging that freaking, it's not even a sword, it's just a fucking, it's a dragon too. Yeah,
it's a lump of iron is what it is.
It's a lump of iron. And that thing like weighs like 220 pounds from what I've looked up.
Jeez.
And so Do you know that's like carrying a barbell with 225 on your back and just like
And you're
killing monsters?
And
stuff
it's
with
one
it, so.
it's one thing to hold 225. Look, oh, I've got 225 pounds on my shoulders, because that's lots of people can do that. That's a carry 225, whatever. It's another thing entirely to hold the barbell at the end and swing that sucker.
Exactly, just swing it like insane, absolutely insane. Like they're oh my god. So like the way Guts is built, he's built very much like he looks very muscular. Like you see him shirtless, he is jacked, he is built, he is like a NFL compound football player, stuff like that, like super just ripped.
Yeah,
like,
and you can't talk about early Guts, because early Guts is really lean.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Early
really
Guts is
small.
really lean. Like later on he gets like ooh.
But like, let me see here, I'm pulling up.
Yeah, I'll put him in the chat for people out there too. Yeah, like, see, look at this Guts. Look at this dude. This dude is not, he ain't natty. Look at that.
He's real big. Look at his arm. Like, the size of his biceps, the cap of that shoulder, you know, chest is a little, like, underdeveloped, but honestly, that makes sense based on the stuff that he does.
Right.
And you know what? A big thing, in this picture specifically, the thickness of his trunk. Because you would have to have like ab muscles and core muscles insane, like more than anything else, just so your spine didn't snap in half. You'd have to have ab muscles to use that sword.
Exactly. Like, oh god, like the way your core stimulates when doing front squats with like the weight just a little bit in front of you, like I can only imagine when you have to stabilize when doing that.
Just think
like,
about
insanity.
like a basic wood chopper. Like if you've got like a dumbbell or a cable in your hand trying to do a wood chopper, and like how much that weight feels like when it's out away from the fulcrum of your body, and you're like, that man's swinging a sword. Like,
that man is swinging a sword.
Pounds.
Fast too.
Oh yeah,
beating people. Oh my god, yeah, dude. Oh yeah. He looks like a on stage fitness model. He looks like, oh my god.
So let me ask you this. It's been a while since I've watched it, but your Guts video, I feel like that was more on the aesthetics of Guts.
Yeah, definitely it was more on the aesthetics of Guts. It was more like building a body that's very much aesthetic to Guts, because like there was only one thing I put in with like the thing was like overhead, because I had that big ass sword. So I was like, of course I'm gonna use this sword. I'm not just not gonna use this sword. Like I used the sword and did like overhead swings and stuff like that. But like majority it was more of an aesthetic based stuff.
And sometimes I feel like when both of us make videos, for the most part, yours is very much like look like this character, and mine is very much like do the things the character actually did. Right. But and mind you, this is an interesting. This is very important for this topic of conversation, because that if we're talking about aesthetics versus what a person is actually going to do, they're not going to produce the same things like we've talked about. Like so if you do very similar things to what Guts did, which is like in my Guts Battlefield video, which is just kind of like my Guts. It's like daily training stuff that he would do like every day. That's going to produce a certain look. That's not necessarily going to be the same kind of thing that he actually looks like. But if you do Jordan's version, it's going to you might actually be able to sculpt a body that looks more closely related to what Guts look like.
Yeah, fusion dance it. Exactly. Just fusion dance it together. Yeah, because it honestly is a situation where, again, that bodybuilder look sells tremendously. So of course he's going to look just like a fucking bodybuilder, swing and go. Like he's gonna look like Conan the Barbarian, going through just like, I'm just a beast doing this stuff. But the way he trains isn't necessarily gonna get those type of results for that aesthetic. So yeah, that is something very
especially not when you think about somebody who would be living in those conditions, like out in the field all the time, living the soldier's life, you know, like they're gonna be smaller people just because of the amount of overall
cardio and movement.
Overall movement that they're doing. They're not gonna be able to recover enough to put on that size. It's because
like, is he eating? Like how much does Guts eat? I haven't read the first ones in a while.
It's got like to be able to have that much strength, he would have to eat a monumental amount of food.
Does he eat the demons after he kills them? It's just maybe that explains it. The demon blood. He's just fucking that's like a form of HGH. Just when he like kills and he eats the blood and stuff like that. It's just like Oh, just like when he gets his rage boost and he uses the thing, it's just like,
Nice.
So okay, you know what? No, it actually is completely natty for him during this time.
Yeah, it counts as being. Which, by the way, in terms of natty, I don't know if you saw the thing that I posted earlier on Twitter.
Oh, I saw that, the natural bodybuilders.
Oh my God,
They had
it was
Ronnie Coleman on that. It's
list
just,
of 10 natural bodybuilders. At first, I was like, okay, that first one seems reasonable. And if the further I got down the list, I was like, I don't know, guys. And I got to the last one and said Ronnie Coleman. I was like, okay, this whole list is trash.
right, exactly. It's just like, oh my God, Ronnie. I love Ronnie Coleman to death. We love Ronnie Coleman here. It's just like Ronnie Coleman is very openly talked about what steroids he's used in the future. But yeah, like, don't put Ronnie on that list. Oh my God.
All right,
let's see.
Get another one here.
Ooh, here's one. He just came back. Ichigo.
Okay.
Yeah, Ichigo Kurosaki. So he is lean, but he's not necessarily massive as well. So he's like a swimmer too, right?
Yeah, he's got that like kind of like long swimmer's body. You know, a lot of cardio type stuff. Definitely got the abs, but you know,
yeah, very focused on abs and pecs.
By the way, guys, abs just mean you're lean.
Yes,
that's all that means.
No, exactly. Like people. There's this. I'll put this graph up and I'll put it in so you can see it too. So I say, but there's this perfect graph I saw that was like talking about like the buff graph, and it was like how certain individuals see people as buff, and then it was like having abs, leg muscles, back muscles, shoulder muscles, chest muscles, etc., arm muscles, etc. And then it was like how to tell if a guy is actually like buff, and then it was like having abs, leg muscles, back muscles, shoulder muscles, chest muscles, all that stuff. It's just like, yeah, it's night and day. But again, like, we live in a society where freaking people
we live in a society.
We live in a society. Yeah, so like we have this visual of, look, they have to have abs, broad shoulders, and nice pecs. And then if they have all those, they're ripped. They're Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And not just nice pecs. Nice upper pec.
Upper pec,
because that's that
action.
Superhero look is that nice upper pec. Because if you got too much of like that lower pec, it's like, you know,
it's like moves.
Yeah, people are like, oh, that's weird. But like that nice framing of the upper pec is like what they're kind of go for.
It looks nice.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like Future Trunks. Like Future Trunks has a nice upper pec. Yeah. Like tank top. Yeah, especially in BoJack. So yeah.
That is top tier Future Trunks.
Oh yeah, exactly. With the ripped off sleeves of the jacket, perfect. That is a best Future Trunks look. But yeah, like again, like this is what happens with certain people. Like we see that aesthetic, and it's so good. Like, but there are like various times where people, again, will see a body type and they're like, oh my God, this person must be so strong. Like I have friends who are fitness models. Like for instance, my good friend Mike, Riot Hiei, if you're watching this, I love you to death. But like, okay, this is a funny story from years ago. Yeah, so like when one time we went on a run together, because like he had just got done with a photo shoot. He looked insanely great. I was like, let's go for a run. And so I was doing like 3 miles like casually, easy and breathing. And after like a mile and a half, he was like, fuck, bro, I can't do this shit. Fuck, bro, I just can't do this. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Don't you do it? I was like, dude, I just fucking walk, bro. Fuck, dude, that's just, I can't do this shit. I was just like, dude, come on. Like, we can do this. We only got to do this. Like, oh, God, I can do it. Mike, I love you. I love you, bro. But, like, that was just hilarious because me and my other friend Jeff were just like, come on, dude, you can do this. But there's a difference between muscles for show and muscles to go. Now, you can definitely, this is something I want to bring up to you as well. Like, for instance, what is more important to you at first? Do you want to look like the character and then get the attributes? Or do you want to get the attributes and then transfer that to looking like the character? Because you can do both. If you try to do both at the same time, you can get some effects out of it, but it's not going to be as fast as you would like.
Specificity.
Versus if you were just like, yeah, exactly. Specificity. I fucked up the word.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But specificity
like,
allows, you know, whatever you're trying to do at that particular time is what you're going to get the most gains out of. And you could do two things that are very disparate to one another. You could do powerlifting and long distance running at the same time, but you're not going to be as good at either of them as fast.
Exactly, exactly. So, for example, like for years as a kid, like before I knew how to do it and learn how to do recomps properly, I would always try to build muscle and burn fat at the same time. You can't. I've done videos on how you can do it. It's just a much, much slower process if you don't have newbie gains going for you or you don't got help going for you, all that stuff. So what helped me when I was initially going for just aesthetics was just like, you know, taking like 4 or 5 months just focusing on leaning out, then doing a few months with just like, you know, adding size to the frame, and it made like a world of difference. But I'm just saying, like, if you try to do both at the same time, like, oh, I want to be exactly like Goku, I want to like be a fitness model, and I want to fight like Goku, and I want to have the stamina of Goku, I was like taper expectations. Which one work? Do you want to do more? Do you want to look like him and then just like go to a con and rock the cosplay and then do all that stuff, or do you want to do the MMA stuff and then transition to that? Like, for instance, like they are two different things, and once you learn that, you can get better results for yourself in the future. Because a lot of people, and again, absolutely zero shade, is just something where I've noticed that like some people will have like the body, but then like my organs are messed up because I just eat like crap all the time. So for example, like we've talked about this if it fits your macros diet before on my channel. So I'm actually friends with a few fitness models who will do this thing where they eat whatever they want as long as they get enough protein, and they don't really do much cardio. The only cardio they do is they just do like weights with like low rest time, and then it makes them look insane. Like if you see them, you're like, I'm Myron, bro. I am Myron. But when it comes down to it, when it comes to other like health and fitness stuff, they ain't the best, and they will tell you that. It's just like I'm like a flamingo, or not flamingo, like a freaking peacock, where it's like this is like a look I got going for me. And it's just, you know, I'm glad they're honest about it, but it's just that perception of a lot of people will see that and be like, oh, these people must be like Superman and All Might, how they perceive themselves in that sense. But like realistically, it's just like, oh no, I'm just like, you know, showing this, even though All Might has that whole thing going for himself.
In terms of like body recomp, as long as you're doing like some sort of resistance training, keeping your protein high, and you are in a caloric deficit, eventually you will get shredded as just like all hell. Yeah, you will get shredded. It will happen at some point. You'll get there.
Yeah. You'll get like, it'll be like Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man. Like, what happened? It's just like you'll just look in the mirror one day and like, oh damn, because it's so good. And
there's really not a lot of magic to it, because you know it's just math. It's just like you figure out how many calories you need, you eat less than that, and then
you make sure you're getting enough protein,
and then
make sure the muscles are refueled. Yeah, and it just will happen.
It just happens. Yeah. And if you're like, oh well, I'm eating this much food, here's what I think I need to do, I'm not losing any weight, cut your calories by 10 to 15, maybe 20%, see what happens.
Exactly. Works like magic, people. Works like magic. Okay, so yeah, Sensei, why don't you give us one more, and then we can finish this up, because we've gone on for nearly an hour at this point, which is fun. I'm glad this is gonna be a fun upload.
You personally,
me,
who do you want to look like?
Dang. Okay, let's see. Because I know for years I wanted to have that Goku body, but I noticed. So for example, if you follow me on my Instagram, I've talked about this in depth before. But like, okay, I was a kid with asthma, fat kid with asthma. So cardio is one of the most important things in the world to me. So, for example, when I first started, I have the ability to do a routine that will make me look exactly like Goku. I have the knowledge, I have the skills, I have all that stuff, but I know when I do it, I can't do as much of my athletic cardio because it will have a negative effect on how I want to make my body aesthetic. And it's a slower process, but I really like doing like a boxer type workout routine where I'm running, I'm jumping rope, I'm punching bag, I'm doing all that stuff. And like it gets me lean and it gives me the body I have today, and not necessarily gives me the size I would like. So for example, when I do a bodybuilder type routine, I notice that like, oh, I'm feeling yoked, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling great. But then I notice like, oh, if I go for a jog with some friends who are more cardio based, or if I like go hang with my martial arts friends, I'll notice like, why am I getting gas so fast? Oh my God, I'm getting gas faster. And it makes me just self-conscious, because when I was a kid, I used to have like horrible asthma. So another thing I used to do, athletic type training, where I would focus more on like wind sprints, like just doing the interval training and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I'm doing like athletic movement, I'm doing the burst, it's making me strong, it's making me lean. But I'm noticing if I have to do anything for long periods of endurance, I'm not as effective as I would like to be. I'm great for in the first few rounds. I am phenomenal. I got like stamina for like great, but I notice like as it goes on, I can't go into deep waters, and so I'm like, okay, I need to find a way to get balance. So like that's what I primarily focus on now. But I guess a body that I would not mind having.
Now you've got to take into account your own personal goals for like how you want to be. So like, because you're like, oh hell yeah, I want to look like this, but it's like I can't look like that and live the way I want to live. So what fits in with what's the best of both worlds?
That is actually a really good question. I guess because I you know what? I think 18-year-old Goku. 18-year-old Goku? Like,
Okay.
let me post a picture of 18-year-old Goku. I think 18-year-old Goku hits all the marks that I would like for myself, per se, because like his arms are big, he's got great muscularity all around.
Still got the pecs.
Like for yeah, the pecs, the back, all that stuff, but he's not like insanely massive. So for honestly, like before the fitness model physique, while I like really like that aesthetic, I feel like I work better with this type of physique. Because right now I got the abs, my arms are decent size, they're not as big as I would like them to be, but I'm working on it. And so like, yeah, it's just a various thing. I'm getting back into it because after like the whole thing with my injuries and mental health, I started focus on I just want to be happy, healthier, stronger, fitter, and focused on like the important things. So like, you know, people out there, focus on your cardio. Your heart and lungs are very, very important. Do not neglect them until it's too late. So really focus on them, or like just do walking if you need to. Just do brisk walking if you need to. Just keep your heart and lungs healthy. But yeah, I would say like 18-year-old Goku, I would not mind 18-year-old Goku at all. Yeah. So what about you? What would you say for yourself?
So I used to be in the camp of like I wanted to look like Baki.
Oh, Baki, yeah.
But that was also when I was doing a lot of fight training. Like
exactly
doing a lot of fight training, doing a lot of long distance stuff. Because I've never trained for aesthetics before. Like that's never been a thing that I've done until now. But
no, it's completely fine. Functionality.
So I've always been about what can my body do. Like what am I? How much can I lift? How far can I run? How fast can I do things? You know, that kind of stuff. And so you know, now sometimes that might have been an excuse for me to just eat whatever I wanted and not care about it. But like, oh, I don't have to worry about abs because you know I can you know do this. But now that I'm a little older, and I'm not doing as much crazy athletic stuff as I used to do, I kind of like the goal. Kind of recently has been like I kind of want to look like Roshi when I'm an old dude. I just want to look like an old Jack dude.
Old swole bodybuilder.
Yeah, I just want to look like I kind of want a Roshi like side, like you know when he's full power Roshi. Not obviously he can't be that big, but like
well, like 50%.
Just that kind of look.
Hold
on, I think we actually had the picture. Yeah, and honestly, you know, because right now I'm focused on because my dad. For those of you who are not following me on my channel and stuff that I'm doing. I'm currently training for a bodybuilding show in about a year now, because my dad did a bodybuilding show when he was in his 40s, and he wanted to do another one before, like, you know, because he's in his 60s now.
That's awesome.
And so, you know, I was like, he wanted me to do it with him, and I was like, I really don't want to be on stage, but okay. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm still kind of like trying to get the big. You know, at the moment, and I'm not under any illusions that I'm going to be massive or anything like that. You know, it's only a year and a half of trying to specifically train for size, and at some point I'm going to have to cut. So you know, I'm not going to be getting much larger. And it, you know, but if I spend the next 10 years working on size and still trying to be athletic and do like some martial arts and some cardio stuff, I don't think that looking like Roshi is outside the realm of possibility.
Right, you know what you should do with that too is just like build up your because I know you say you don't want to get too lean. Like, have you ever done that thing where like you focus on like weight training the abs where they like just become blocky so you don't have to get such a low body fat percentage? Because like there are so many people I know, like for instance like Adam on the Pioneer, like he's a really cool dude. Like he has this whole video talking about how he maintains like ripped abs at like a normal body fat percentage.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is actually so much more better than like people out there. If you ever want like abs, but you want to like still have a good healthy amount of fat for energy, like build up your abs, make them nice and blocky so they poke through the fat. So like it will like get lean of course first, but like when you do it, you don't have to get as cut for your abs.
Yeah,
to poke out.
it's the difference. It's the difference between having a because the muscles of the rectus abdominis are just like any other muscle. You can make them bigger. And so if you put more size on them, they'll be easier to see.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly, and then you can like maintain your body fat percentage and like not necessarily be too heavy, but like and just have a healthy amount of body fat. And
But
like, oh, yeah,
if I had a ridiculous amount of money and could afford the limb lengthening surgery, Jack Hanma.
Jack Hanma, oh yeah, exactly.
7'11", you know, just let's go.
7'11". And then just like, man, hopefully in the future they'll have stuff like that where it's just like, okay, yeah, this won't be as painful, and then you can just.
Oh yeah, I've heard that the limb lengthening surgery is one of the worst, most painful surgeries that you can go through.
Exactly, because they got to like shatter everything and like stick the stuff. Oh god, it's just
yeah,
it's
and
terrible.
you don't really even get a whole like that much out of it. I think something like 6 or 7 inches.
Okay.
But like, I mean, that's something. It like, yeah. But I got short little legs. I got the torso of like a 6'2" guy, and like the legs of like a 5'4" guy.
right. Like to me, I remember I always said to myself, like I will just, I'm happy with my height now just because I'm the same height as Goku, 5'9". And I was just like, hey, I'm Goku's height. I'm happy with myself, okay? I don't care. Like that is the thing for me, because I know like I always said like if I was like taller, I would have got like super buff, like a Jason Voorhees type. Like if I was like 6 something, I would have been like focused on like some Jason Voorhees steroid type deal. But like since I'm like this height, I don't want to be like I look like a Roblox character if I just walk around something like that.
It's so bad. Like I'll be sitting with people like if I go out to like dinner with somebody or like and there'll be tall people that I'm sitting with and like, oh, we're all kind of about the same height, and then we stand up and they're like way taller than me, and I'm like, yeah, I know my legs are short.
Oh god. Damn. Okay, well that's good to know. Like Jack Hanma and 18-year-old Goku, we got this. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video today. It was more of a podcast, but it's still fun that we're doing this. Got the visuals and all that stuff. Tell us, who is your favorite character that you want to be looking like, and what is your favorite physique in fiction? And if you made this far in the video, type in natty anime and lets me know who like stayed this far. Like natty anime. Don't put a hashtag in front of it, because apparently if you put a hashtag in front of it, it'll like send it to the spam box or something like that. But just natty anime, let's be know. It's weird. It's so weird. But yeah, be sure to follow my good friend Steven Sensei and all that jazz on the anime trainer on YouTube. There's a link that you can follow down below. He's got tons of great stuff like there, like archive stuff. It's awesome and awesome stuff. He's doing great videos right now too, talking about a bunch of very important health stuff. And yeah, like again, thank you all so much for watching. Where my channel is like at 490K right now, almost at 500,000, and it's just like insane to be like, oh god, we're almost there. So like I'm just very honored. So if you can hit that bell icon, hit that like button, leave a comment down below, it helps me out so much. And just share your energy with me. Share your energy with me, Goku style, Spirit Bomb style. Like I'm just so honored. Yeah, exactly. But again, thank you for joining us. You got anything to say? Any last words you want to say or anything like that?
Nope. Thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun. I always enjoy our talks, and I enjoy being able to speak to your audience. And you know, thanks for telling everybody to come see me over on my channel. And
he's the OG. All right, like everyone else, like I always get these people like, oh, what do you think of being the OG Vanish? I was like, no, it's like he's the OG. I will always point to him like, no, OG. I remember doing this when I was a kid and like in high school. Like, oh god, that is awesome. So yeah, like go to the OG. Like he rocks. So all that jazz. But I'm always happy to help you, Sensei, with that.
I'm the anime trainer. He's JaxBlade. Until next time, guys. Good luck and train hard.
Yeah, all right. Keep on, booyah on, and don't forget, moment time. Peace out.